We're live. We
Like
did
straight
it.
up.
Straight up. We are live.
You're not even muted, nothing. We just go live like well bam.
I hope I'm not. Because if I am, at the moment there's no one to tell me. But hopefully someone will come over and say, "Kat, something is wrong, and you need to unmute yourself." Because I've been there.
Yeah.
I've had like 10 minutes of the stream, and someone finally comes in and says, "Kat, are you muted?"
Yeah. I've just checked you're not muted, thankfully. So just check the
Yay!
screen.
Then I guess we're live. We have posted about it everywhere we want to. You can repost while we're warming up.
Retweety tweets, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I might need to be just a little bit louder, but it's hard for me to hear two things at once.
Understandable. Let's see if Heku is here. Heku can maybe give us some pointers if Jar of Jam needs to be a bit louder or not. Or maybe I'm too loud and I should just leave and let you talk.
Or if one of us needs to be replaced by Heku, you know.
Yeah, right? Maybe we just need a third screen for Heku just to moderate this chat.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that would be fun, honestly.
Okay, I'm gonna be super lazy and just gonna retweet your tweet without any extra information.
It's completely fine.
I already put the effort previously when I wrote it up last time. So.
Yes, you did, and I still think that was the most perfect picture you could have sent me for that poster. I'm not joking. It really looks like your mom made you do this. Like you look. Yeah, exactly. Anyway.
It's the classical white person smile.
When you meet another white person in public, you're like,
Exactly. There was a fantastic sketch about this by, unfortunately, I don't know who exactly, like what group or who made this, but like exactly white people just greeting each other like. And I do this myself all the time, so.
right? So you can actually laugh about it, because we all of us do that. So sad, to be honest. Anyway, we are here to have a chat with you, and
oh dear.
Oh dear. Let's start with very simple question. How are you, Jam?
I'm doing just fine, Kat. What's up with you?
I'm doing amazing. I've wanted to have this chat with you for a very long time, and I decided to also make it public, so I'm not the only one listening to you.
Very, very thoughtful.
Big brain move, I know. Actually, one question about your name. So, you're Jar of Jam, right?
Yes.
Is there a short version of your name that you would prefer, like Jar or Jam or Off?
Off. Yeah, you know what? Nobody calls me Off, and that's very strange. That's an interesting option, actually. As it stands, out of all of the potential options, I think I go better with Jam, because the moment people start calling me Jar, the Jar Jar immediately comes out, and
Jar.
That's just not it. No, that's just not gonna fly.
Okay, so Jam it is. But while we're on the topic of your nickname, where does it come from? Why are you Jar of Jam out of, I don't know, all the other jars?
It's quite a weird story, actually. But as it stands, a long time ago, I was not Jar of Jam. I had a different nickname, and as it stands, I've joined a foreign, let's say American IRC server, or IRC, and I needed a new nickname, and my old nickname just meant nothing in English, and as it stands, it was just like, I thought that people were not understanding, so on the spot I decided to make up a nickname. And by that, at that point, I was really into the song called "Whiskey in a Jarro," originally by, well, I think it's actually a folk song, but then made popular by Thin Lizzy, and then later on covered by Metallica. And I always thought, okay, whiskey in a jar o. What can a jar of be? Jar of jam? Sure, whatever. And so since then, I went with
that. Is there the secret of what was your previous nickname, or?
Well, I mean, I'm pretty sure people can locate it at some point, but some things shall stay private. It's nothing awful. It's just that's an old name, and And some people know me quite well by it, and as such, I like to sort of separate the folks who knew me before that and now by this point.
The old friends and the new friends. Okay, I see.
Exactly.
But interesting. But it reminded me of the fact that almost all of us have this old email account that we've created when we were like 10 or 12. And we use it for like spam inboxes or something like that. And no one wants to say what it is because it's embarrassing usually.
Oh, as a sense, I can tell you my first nickname. I think my very first nickname that I really properly remember, and I remember playing with Unreal Tournament, the original one, with friends, and my nickname over there was Hyperboy, and I'm pretty sure I put like a 1 in there somewhere, like a cool kid I was.
Yeah.
or a 3. Definitely, my later nicknames definitely had all of those 0s and 3s instead of O's and E's. So yeah.
Of course, like everyone. At that time. Okay, we've established where your name has come from, but I would say like organic next question is can you just tell a bit about yourself, like who you are, where have you come from, not like maybe geographically, but how did you get to the place where you are now, professionally and like gaming career-wise, etc. Where it all started?
I think it all started when I was still a little boy, and I got my first computer at home. Well, it wasn't even my first computer, as it stands. It was my parents' computer, and I just had a chance to go on there, maybe browse the web a little bit, go on, play some. I think it was even precursor to Flash games. Maybe by that point, there was still Shockwave games. So on websites like Two Cows. I'm pretty sure nobody remembers Two Cows anymore. And then then I slowly started getting games. My very first gaming experience, there are a couple of memories, but I think the first one, definitely playing something at home. Dad brought a copy of Warcraft 2 demo from work, and I remember trying to play that. And it was, I couldn't understand how it works. I sent my orcs to chop the trees. They said zug zug and kept on chopping the trees and nothing was happening. And so I had to ask my dad, who then asked his coworker who gave him the CD with a demo, why this is happening. And I said, just be patient, just wait, and they'll finally gonna chop them down. And so I did. Later on, I got a copy of StarCraft, played it online, surprisingly enough. Somehow I got a blank CD case with StarCraft written on it and also a CD key, and it was working on Battle.net, and I was incredibly surprised that many years later I understood like how surprising this was that I actually got a proper working license copy. I also remember playing games like Test Drive, the very old ones for DOS, still at my parents' work, because I from time to time came in and sort of sat with them, or they sort of, for whatever reason, I had to like stay with them at work. And another one good memory is playing on the majority of the foreign people. This reference will be lost. Although again, in Russia, or at the very least in like the post-Soviet space, there's a game called Polyo Chudes, which is the local analog of Wheel of Fortune. And there is a Russian game based on that, which had a Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and the host of the show itself. And I played that as well. The only problem was it was incredibly hard. I could not almost ever answer any questions. The references were quite like 90s Russia, and so obviously I couldn't even figure anything out. But those were, I suppose, the 3 top memories from my childhood from games. And then I just continued on playing. I found Counter-Strike. I went to the local internet cafes and played there with friends. I even got, I continued on playing for quite a long time. I even got admin on a couple of the servers. Then Counter-Strike Source came. I played that less, but still from time to time. I remember playing, getting my own clans in the original Counter-Strike as well, and just continued on playing the games for almost as long as I can remember myself. So it started roughly like, let's say, when I was 7. Now I'm 31 and I'm still playing video games. But how do I got here specifically, though? Well, there's still a little bit of pre-story to that. Most of the people nowadays know me for the fact that I am a Rocket League caster, and
Really?
I've casted anything from small events to quite big ones. I have not been to the very top just yet, but as it stands, I am getting pretty darn close, and I'm going to continue on going until there's nowhere to go up. But about 7 or so years ago, even perhaps even let's go even a little bit further than that. Let's say 8 or 9 years ago, I was playing League of Legends, and quite actively, I would say like for about 4 years straight, I've been quite an active League of Legends players. I met some good friends over there. Still, we talk with them from time to time. And slowly but surely, of course, I started playing myself, and then I started looking at the esports that was happening. Just by that time, like when I just joined, I think the first season of not RLCS, sorry, LCS, like the very first League of Legends season, proper, like big time, sponsored by Riot, has finished. And ever since then, I slowly started watching the European events, the North American events. Obviously, just at first because it's cool, then to learn something for the pros, and more, I got interested in the broadcast aspect of it, the casting aspect of it. I started liking the casters and how they work more than I liked like watching the players. Watching the players do some great stuff was still cool, but something about the casting as an art, as a thing to do, enticed me more and more and more. And so eventually, I thought, all right, this is getting really interesting. Like, how can I do this myself? Is it possible for me to do this myself? And eventually, I located a post on Reddit, most likely, where they were looking for casters for local tournaments. Specifically, it was not a local tournament per se, but those of you who remember when ESL still hosted their weekly tournaments, this was called Go for LOL. And so me and a group of people who also signed up for this basically took these tournaments and casted whatever, well, not whatever games we could find, but it was official. It was sort of provided, the whole the whole, I don't know, broadcasting package was provided by ESL. We casted on their channel. It wasn't the ESL like ESL LOL, for example. I think it was called National ESL, so one rung lower. But it was there when I first tried casting. It was there when I first just saw what it was like, and I liked it very much. Unfortunately, I lost interest in it. Not in the casting necessarily, but the game itself. And the people who were working with me also lost the interest as well. So at some point, there was just nobody to cast with. And with the lack of interest, obviously, just disappeared into nothing. And ended up with nothing as a result. But this was my first taste of all these like 6 or 7 years ago, and as it stands, I've checked just recently because I was curious just to check the date when I really started, and the recordings of me casting what was basically for the first time in my career on a live broadcasted, they're still up. Anyone can find them.
I'd want to see that because I've seen you casting something in like more recent events. I've seen you doing that. I really like how you do that. It would be interesting to compare like where you started and where you are right now.
It could be interesting to watch that, then to watch my first attempts at Rocket League, and then maybe watch how I'm doing Rocket League now, because I think we're going to get to that at some point. But I have some recordings still on my PC. I do believe I haven't deleted them, of me just trying to practice for myself. And it's not as good as what I can do nowadays.
Okay, but you understood that the League of Legends thing was done for you? What happened next?
It's interest in League of Legends waned. I just continued on playing games as it's just whatever came. I generally do not remember what I was playing at that point. Maybe a lot of Team Fortress 2, perhaps. Also quite a big game in during the whole thing. One of the top games, like hours played wise on my Steam account, that's for sure. And even before that, when I was not playing on Steam. But just time went, and I started missing that. I tried it already, and even if I like no longer did a League of Legends, the fact was I still wanted to be a caster, or even more specifically, I also wanted to get into an esport. So, not necessarily to be in there, just to get a new esports to watch. From time to time, I think I watch League of Legends. I watch a little bit of CS:GO, Yeah, at that point I think it was already season ago. But I never really got into it, and so I started looking for it. At some point, I even considered Team Fortress 2 as well, but unfortunately, the professional scene is quite small, and I somehow, despite me spending a lot of time playing Team Fortress, being reasonably good at it, I never really delved into the competitive side of it, and that was a slightly different beast from your just casual pubs and everything. So yeah, somehow never really appeared in full swing. So I was just in this searching mode, like what was going to be the next big thing that I'm going to be following. And at some point, I happened upon a Rocket League broadcast, and I got quite intrigued. I do believe I can't remember which one was the first one, but I remember two. One of them was I think the finals of season 3 in Amsterdam. Might be
Which
Rocket
season is
League
now?
Championship Series. Right now, it is season X. So,
okay,
let's
10.
say season 10, technically, yeah. They call it X, and God knows what's going to happen later on with the naming. But obviously, the season is not like a year, so it's much shorter. But I think it was season 3, and another broadcast that I remember watching. It was a benefit for one of the OGs of the scene, Shaltis. Unfortunately, I do believe Shaltis has passed away since then. But still, it was a great event. I even got to work with that organization that organized that charity event for him as well later on. But yeah, from there, I thought, wow, this is interesting. Let me try this game out myself. At some point, Steam had a free weekend for Rocket League. I tried it just a little bit. I actually couldn't even try it for the whole weekend. I had to go somewhere. I had to travel somewhere. So I just quickly did it. Still, even after that, I continued watching it, the interest grew, and somewhere in I think in December of 2016, I bought myself a copy during the Steam Winter Sale and started playing it little by little. Kept on watching. At first, obviously, I was really scared to play with proper players, so I just played with bots. I think it helped in the end, and at least I went to the casual games with a little bit more knowledge. And so I bought the copy of the game in December 2016, and already in February of the next year, 2017, I already started looking for a casting position because I didn't know much about the game, but I felt like I could talk. I could still talk about it, and I could do something about it. And so I started again looking at Reddit, and lo and behold, bam, people are looking for a caster. Pro Rivalry League, now Rival Esports, by then PRL, we're looking for casters for their European division. We're just opening their European part of their whole organization. I applied. They did not get me immediately. They said, well, they picked someone else for my position at that point. But that rejection actually spurred me into some action. I understood that, okay, I won't have the same luck as with League of Legends and NESL and Go for Lols, when I just came there, said, oh, I would like to cast. They gave me a replay to cast over. I did a really shoddy job. They still said, okay, well, you still have a lot to learn, but we'll take you. With Rocket League, it wasn't the same thing. In a way, I was rejected. So I spent the time practicing. I just took replays, whatever I could find. And since Rocket League is pretty good with just ability to watch replays in-game, I just put on a replay, put on record mode in OBS, and recorded myself casting over it. And again, as I mentioned before, I still have some of those recordings. The worst ones, like at the very beginning, most likely did not make it. Although, but at this point, I generally do not remember which ones are the ones that I have right now. And eventually, and with those recordings, actually, I could take that recording and give it to whoever is looking for more caster and say, okay, so this is how I sound like. This is like an actually example of me casting Rocket League. And the next organization I applied to, Shift Pro League, which unfortunately is no longer in operation, but they were pretty big in North American scene and quite noticeable European scene by that point as well. They took me under their wing, and I cast a couple of tournaments with them. I was lucky enough at some point to even work on the qualifiers for one of the biggest tournaments, so the one of the seasons of RLCS. Actually, could have been. I mean, let me quickly look it up. But now that I think about it, it actually might have been season 3 then that I casted for. Oh, sorry, that doesn't say here, unfortunately. Open qualifiers, so I wouldn't be able to say which one it is. But yeah, they took me under their wing. I did a whole bunch of tournaments for them, and slowly but surely, PRL, the guys who originally took somebody else, said, "Oh, we one of our guys can't make it. Could you make it?" And so I went to work with them once, twice, thrice. Now, I have actually a list written down of all the tournaments, and majority of the tournaments I worked with, and I missed the very first tournament for PRL. Starting from the second one, and I haven't missed a single one until number 24. So that's 22 straight weeks of me casting for them. And eventually, somewhere in the middle of that, they said, "Okay, we are constantly inviting you as to be our replacement, to be our temporary caster. Wouldn't it make more sense for you to just come on board full time?" And so I did, and continued working with them. And it's with them I feel like I did some of my first big tournaments. And PRL, now Rival Esports, obviously has more connection, had pretty good connections as well, since one of the people who started PRL then went on to work for Psyonix, the makers of Rocket League. Then I think we now have one of the observers from our organization also working for them as well. The very first season of Rival Series, like the Tier 2 league for our Rocket League, has been hosted at the house of one of the creators of PRL, Rival Esports. So there is a very tightly knit connection between the Rival Esports and Psyonix and RLCS as a whole. A couple of our casters that came from Rival Esports are now working for the top tier as well. So it has been a great position, a great ability to show yourself for people who are working with the big broadcast, and as such, just a connections basically. That's all it is.
Sounds incredibly interesting. I have a question about the tournaments. You said, did you write them all down? Well, at least most of them.
It's like at the very beginning, I was writing all of them. For example, my very first tournament, February 15th of 2017. Unfortunately, somewhere at the end of 2019, I stopped doing it. But in total, I would say more than 300 various events. Obviously, event in this case is, for example, it could be I worked for 2 or 3 series on a day. And that's it. That's an event because it's a weekly event, for example. So it's not that grand sounding. But then again, I've been asked to do 300 different days of Rocket League, which is pretty good.
That's pretty impressive, I gotta say. Wow, more than 300 events.
I think so. Again, knowing that this list is not complete, but I think the last time I checked on it, it was something like. Right now it is 100, 150. I would say 300 or thereabouts. I would say.
Wow. You mentioned that one way how you practiced were that you were taking the replays, casting over them, and like the good ones you were sending around as an application. Is there anything else that you did to become like a better caster when you understood that you're missing something? Are there any techniques that you used, or is it just practice?
It is, practice helps definitely. Then again, the moment you start actually casting live tournaments, it is just like, I don't know, with a game of sports, it's much better to be on the field and actually play a game. Or just in esports, to not just sit in the training mode, but to play an actual game of CSGO, of Rocket League, of whatnot. I think the best practice indeed came from live situations with another caster, with an actual situation on the field. Where you had because you could cast solo, but nowadays almost nobody casts solo. It's you need somebody to work off, and you need just a moment to even take a breather, as a whole. So for most part, it is a very good practice to listen back just to your broadcasts. So instead of me doing casting for a replay and for my own sake, and then listening back to it, listening just back to the broadcast that just happened helps tremendously. You quite often catch things that you didn't catch initially, and just you hear that and you try not to repeat that anymore. Another thing for me, the one I do the most, I think nowadays, is just listening to professional broadcasts. It's a pretty normal thing for you to initially, if you want to start, to just listen to somebody you like, a caster that you really like, and almost try to emulate their style. You don't have to be them necessarily, but at least it gives you like a base of which to work off. You hear the things that you like in their casting, and you can utilize it yourself. And for me, just listening to the way their language flows, the way they're using their voice, terms that they're using as well, it all helps. Like just everything, like from the cadence of their voice, how they perform on camera as well, how they behave on camera. I take all of that and store it somehow subconsciously, and use that in my work as well.
Wow. Those are good suggestions for pretty much anyone out there. If you've ever wondered how to start, just do it, right? just watch, just talk, just take the game, take your favorite tournament, the recent one that you watched, and try to cast over it and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's another option actually. Not as every single game supports demos. Not every single game is even esports ready, doesn't have a spectator mode, for example. So if in an absence of a replay mode in your favorite game, you can just indeed take the big tournament, put it on mute, and try casting it. See what happens. It's a perfectly valid choice as well. Again, gets you practice, you can record that as well, send it to whoever if you want to apply to work somewhere. It is a perfectly valid thing. So yeah, go for it.
Continuing conversation about casting itself, when you are invited for a project, how is your like full day looking like? Or do you have like a preparation period, or do you just get a call in the morning, hey, can you cast in the evening, and you say yeah, sure, and then you just jump in and do it? Can you tell a bit more about that?
Of course, there's of course a like a several day planning period. Well, it's sometimes I do get called like last minute. I am in a way I am partly substituting for one of the leagues I'm working with, the TCS Esports League, the Swiss league. And so sometimes it is indeed an hour or like 3 hours beforehand on the day if one of the main people can't make it, or even if I'm needed immediately for that show. A couple of times they asked me to do it as I was streaming on that day. So I just say, okay, folks, of course, I'm gonna call you up. Let me just wrap up my stream and we're gonna do just that. But for the most part, again, there is usually not that. Majority of the work can be almost done on the same date. Of course, depends on the tournament. Quite often, it's just taking the whole history of whatever you're working for and just condensing it to a A4 sheet of paper in some cases. So I'm just trying to figure out a good example of what tournament to take. For most of, for example, if it's just if you take your weekly tournament, like some sort of a weekly cash prize tournament, for the most part, there's almost no preparation needed, I would even say. You can, of course, look up the previous winners. You can check which one of the teams who are registered for the tournament is known to you. Maybe they are previous champions, and so you make a mental note of them. You can mention them during your broadcast as well. So, hey, we have like the winners from 3 weeks ago, or so keep your eyes on them. They might as well take the tournament again. But in that situation, that's pretty much all you can get into it. Of course, the more you know about the players, the teams, the more you can bring into the broadcast. A little bit of history is always nice to like pepper and between the variety of things that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But there's usually not that much to talk about. There's knowing that every single time weekly tournaments happen, quite often teams change. Even in the teams, the usual teams players change up, and it's hard to talk about the matchups. For example, unknown team A playing versus unknown team B. There's a chance you have never seen any of these players before, so you cannot say that so they have a great record versus this team, or their playstyle since you've seen them for the first time. So for tournaments like that, preparation is usually at a minimum, but still you make it work. You cast it as if you would any other game. It's just the more of a history, you can paint a much smaller picture, unfortunately, when you don't know the teams, but it's still it doesn't mean that you are not paying giving it as much as you would for any big tournament. But if you take something bigger, then it's usually on the same day as the tournament is happening. I sit down, I pull up some stats. Thankfully, for most of the tournaments that I work with, folks in the back scenes, in the backstage, prepare great stat sheets. And there are a ton of websites nowadays that allow me to just watch look at the history between the teams, again, look at their stats, head to head. Just if it's a league, then I can look at the stats in general. Who's currently the best goal scorer? Who scores more goals on average? Who is great in the net? Take all of these numbers and just weave it into the story at some point. Some of them you just take and just put them somewhere, just mention them during the broadcast. From some of them, you feel like this is a main point. Maybe tell the viewers that, so here is a great goal scorer and a player who assists a lot. And so they work well together. That's the backbone of the team. And you can put on the other end either a similar story. So which one of these goal scoring assisting pairs is going to be the best? And this could be your pre-show segment, for example. And so little by little, you just build a little bit of story for your show. And by the end of it, what I usually have is a Google Docs document with just little bits here and there, players, maybe a little bit of history about them as well, their previous teams, their results in tournaments. Again, the information is head to head, and all of that makes for a great pre-show as we talk about the teams, compare them, again, put something on the highlight, and again during the match as well. So yeah, at the same day. That is the preparation work. Then it's just reactionary. You've already done this a million times. It's same thing. Hello, talk about the day. You obviously have information about like the prize pools, the structure of the tournament, the matches that are going to be upcoming,
and giveaways.
So you just weave that in. Giveaways, yeah. Sometimes giveaways drops, and that is almost like goes naturally by this point, and then you just. You get your prepared material out of the way and then just cast the game, and for that there's no real preparation other than you have your experience of casting a game and you just go with it.
Well, casting is really a lot about improvisation, right?
Yeah,
no matter how good you are, you have to improv a lot.
Yes, I would say that is fair. It is just creating words out of nothing. Quite often I almost zone out and words come out just naturally, but I cannot rely on that all the time because at some point I just say something horrible. There's actually a couple of questions in the chat as well. I've seen them.
Yes, I wanted to roll exactly to the latest question, which our friend Yasmin asked us. Of course. How does casting actually work technically? Do you connect to a Discord for the voice, and is the channel you're casting on a separate Discord? Like, I take she's meaning mostly the online tournaments or online casting experiences that you've had. How has it worked for you technically?
For the most part, it is indeed Discord. Lately, there has been some interesting developments. For example, for quite often for cameras, we're now using OBS Ninja. It's a great tool for if a broadcaster wants to capture like several cameras at once, instead of them capturing a Discord window and it being a hassle to cut it down to size. And if somebody leaves that Discord call, then bam, all of a sudden everything's wrong. So it has been a really invaluable tool for everyone who wants to broadcast. But voice-wise, we're either in Discord, in TeamSpeak. Sometimes when we're working for really big productions, it could be vMix, but that is costly, but it's a great tool and allows you to just send your voice in there immediately. It's not super fancy, but it works. It helps.
I mean, as long as it works, you don't need it to be fancy, because it fulfills the functions you need.
The only problem is Discord sometimes has its own issues. The day when Discord all of a sudden is not working and you have a broadcast to do, the backup needs to be immediately found, and sometimes it's hard.
The backup of the backup and the backup. Yeah. I remember my personal latest experience with casting. We actually had to use Discord combined with Skype. I had to download Skype, which I haven't had on my computer for years.
Oh yes, Skype.
just because
Right.
they needed it to capture separately, like the cameras and the voice. And I was like, okay, whatever you need, guys.
I remember a long time ago. A couple of occasions we definitely used Skype because we didn't have anything else. This was like a precursor to OBS, the whole OBS Ninja as well, because Skype nowadays allows you to also do the same thing, not just to capture a window, but to like almost like software, not hardware like, but there is a built-in functionality for you to take that camera as a source, just someone's camera as a source, and put it into your streaming software, OBS or the like. Unfortunately, I think it has a logo somewhere, posted somewhere over there, like a watermark for Skype. So, and everyone, people quite often did that, like Skype as well. So we stopped using that.
I mean, I don't know. I really don't know who are the people nowadays who actually like use Skype as a day-to-day communication tool. I haven't heard anyone, to be honest. But well, that's why we have Discord. We love Discord. We love our other communication services that do not sell our data. But back to our main conversation. So we talked a bit about casting, but as me and a bunch of other people also know, you are streaming on Twitch. Why did you decide to do that, and how has it been going for you?
It actually has been connected to the casting. When I started doing Rocket League, not immediately, but sooner or later, the question of, okay, this is all great. We'd like to use webcams for you guys. So we want viewers to be able to see you. It's going to zazz up the broadcast. And since I've been really getting into it, I've been liking it. I've been constantly being asked to cast, so it seemed like it has been going well. So I bought myself a webcam. And I got myself a webcam and thought, right, now that I have a webcam, maybe I can stream as well. Because before that, without a camera, you can stream without a camera, but especially starting as a completely new streamer, nobody's going to watch me without a camera. It's going to be sad. It's going to be... well, nobody watched me even with the camera, but that's a different story. But as it stands, it was exactly the fact that I now had the ability to show myself on camera, that I had a... actually for a while already, I think I had an audio setup as well, and so everything sort of came together, and I wanted, I think, to do it for a while now. The community that I've been a part of, the owner of that community has been also streaming, and I thought, all right, maybe I can try it myself. And it really has been helpful because and Yasmin, by the way, is from that community. So Yasmin was one of my earlier supporters, by the way. She has been one of the first two people who have subscribed to the channel, and together with Electrovin, I do believe you are still a regular sub, like 30 months and counting, something like that, even longer, I think. But adorable. So yeah, shout out to Yasmin. And yeah, I just basically I piggybacked off the fact that I was already in the community and I could sort of plug my stream in there, and people knew me there already, so I already had some viewers for the first stream, and I was just trying this thing out. Play this game, play that game. I played some like free-to-play games, I think, at the very start, just some short little indie titles, and then slowly I started getting the whole idea behind my Twitch channel. Quite quickly became, I have a huge backlog of games on Steam. Like I constantly play Rocket League. I play multiplayer games. I look, whatever do I do, and I keep on buying new games. Humble Bundle be damned, but I keep on getting new games in my Steam library. I should somehow make myself. Yeah, I feel for you. I feel for you. And this could be a great way of me playing those games. So basically scheduling a time during a week where I play a new game, and I try to complete it, and I have a huge list and just go slowly through it, one game at a time, and eventually I will be able to do this. And so for the most part, what a little like lyrical asides of playing some multiplayer games, something else. For the most part, this has been the main theme for my channel, me going through my backlog. The name for the whole thing has changed a couple of times. I think right now it's Jam versus the Backlog, but I'm now I think 700 hours in on all games, and 93 titles completed.
Wow!
So it has been a long journey.
Are you over the half?
No, not yet. I I've capped it at 200 right now, so I'm 93 out of 200.
Wow, that's so many. For how long you've been doing that already?
And I do believe I've started my very first stream. Actually, I looked it up recently as well. I think it was April of 2017.
Huh.
So I had a break of 1 year, I think, somewhere in the middle. So it's not as the time has definitely gone somewhere. And I've taken other breaks. Like, for example, just recently I took a 2-month break because I had a lot of Rocket League work, and I just couldn't find the time to do streams as well, or at the very least I could find the time most likely, but I want to take some rest because casting is much more energy. The requirement for the energy is quite higher in a way.
Yeah, of course, and but at least you feel the good kind of tired afterwards. It's like after a good workout. You're exhausted,
yes.
but you're happy.
Exactly. It's rarely that I'm sad about the day that has happened. Sometimes, of course, it's technical issues. It could be a complete dumpster fire in the backstage, but still, at the end of the day, it's fun. I do the work that I like, and I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, we've both been in the backstage of esports events. We know how messy it can get when things go wrong. You nowadays cast and stream mostly like online from home, but before this whole period of time, you did some live events as well, right?
Yeah, as it stands, I've been lucky really to work with Baltic Esports League. And first of all, the folks who were behind the creation of a Rocket League part of that Baltic Esports League were incredibly surprised that there is a Rocket League caster in Latvia. They didn't know I existed. I didn't know they existed. We again met on Reddit. So, folks, if you want to start casting, go on Reddit. Somebody is going to be looking for a caster. That's how I found 3 of my jobs now. So, well, multiple jobs really by this point. And they asked me to do this, and great, it was fantastic. They said that there's going to be a LAN event, an actual offline event at the very end of the season, right here in Riga. Fantastic. I got a colleague of mine from UK to be my co-caster. I was also responsible for actually. Sorry, I think first season the broadcasting was done by the admin of the league, KP, and for second season, I do believe I'd taken over the broadcasting duties. And so for the first season, we went through it. We looked at the great teams from Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Lithuanians crushed absolutely everyone. They are crazy. Chuvas, Why Not, and Mimpify, I think. They were some of the strongest players on the scene. And eventually, at the very end, right here in Riga, in my hometown, I've been able to do my first offline event, and it was absolutely tremendous.
I can imagine the feeling of like doing it online, and suddenly there is such an opportunity to cast it live in a, well, I wouldn't say stadium, but like an arena in a way. Yeah. And you don't even have to try to some big country. No, it's right here.
Yeah, like when the event ended, I didn't go to a hotel. I drove straight home. It's rare that you get this opportunity in esports, that's for sure.
That's very rare, but also very interesting. But do you think that sometime in the future you will get on a live stage again?
This is my goal. As it stands right now, I would love to get like technically right now where I am, hierarchy-wise almost, is well. First of all, it's complicated, but second of all, I would say it's at like a third tier. So there's the big guys, RLCS. So your Levex as the host, your Shoguns, Johnny Boys, Subi Smashes, Achieveses. They are the top. The casters who are working the biggest events. Yeah. Then also the B talents, for the B stream talent, Dazarin, Stacks, F Dot, Supersonic, Spaceman. I'm so afraid I'm gonna forget somebody. I think that's it for that stream. I did be getting maybe some guests, but that's all I remember. And of course, shout out to the to the Cole and Stumpy on the mainstream as well. So again, those 5 that I've just named, those are the B stream talent. They usually stream on a different channel. They stream the secondary games, and then there's also us, the talent that came just a little bit later. And these are the folks that I've been working with for I would say almost the last 4 years. Some of them that came in later, but it's the team that works with us on the C stream. So the usually it's the Rocket RB, so our league, Digital Bacon, the Danny Boy, Boyo, Spooks. Sorry, again, I'm gonna forget somebody most certainly, but there's basically the team that is behind the C stream. And so I'm technically, that's the 3rd tier. That's what I'm calling 3rd tier. And so I would love to, before the next big season of RLCS starts, I would love to make it into the 2nd tier. And also, once it starts and once the restrictions die down, this season, the plan was that there's going to be, I think, 3... Actually, I might be wrong, but let's say at the very least during the whole season, there should be at the minimum 3 local events. So, big European tournament, like fall big European tournament, the big European tournament in the winter, and then one big European tournament in the spring, and then the big World Championships happening somewhere. But the plan was that there's still going to be 3 offline events in Europe. Also, same was going to happen in North America, in South America, in Oceania. But obviously, due to COVID, the whole offline events were canceled, including the World Championship. But next season, I would love to make it onto one of these local tournaments. I understand that I doubt it. Well, I will have to prove myself first during offline events to be able to go to Worlds as a caster or as a host or as a presenter or whatnot. But I feel like during the next season, when it's going to start, I would assume at the end of August, I would assume they're going to keep the same schedule, roughly the same structure to the tournament. I would love to start working on the higher tier tournaments and eventually earn my spots somehow to go and work on one of these big offline events.
Well, good luck to you. Fingers crossed that we see you somewhere on the main stage in some world championship of Rocket League, because I would definitely watch that. Related question: if there is someone out there who's like a starting caster or a mid-tier caster, what do you think it takes, or what do those people need to do to become A tier or S tier?
Work, lots of work. Like you have to be just constantly working towards the goal, and as such, that means if there's no work, then practicing somehow, making sure you are improving your craft. It also means constantly putting yourself somewhere so that people can see it. Quite a lot of the talent right now who are working have some sort of their own, let's say, stream or a YouTube channel, and that's sort of like a separate area of content, but still it helps people know about you. And so when the time comes for the big organizations just like Darkcasters, they're going to say, oh, this person does Rocket League, I might as well, they have a following, they could be an interesting person. And also just pushing yourself and getting yourself into every single little hole. Like you see an opportunity to cast, bam, apply for it, contact the right people. I've been sort of lucky to fall into a couple of my opportunities. I knew the right people, and I got invited to do things. Partly it's on merit. If I would have been horrible, I would assume that I would not be invited, and people continue inviting me, then I'm doing something right. But still, if you really want to make it, then you need to be vigilant. You need to be constantly just making sure that people do not forget about you, that you're still known. That, and so, yeah, there's a tournament, bam, apply for it. If there's an opportunity, go for it. It's also, yeah, and it is a long journey though. It took me 4 years to be where I am right now. A lot of people have been working even longer than that. Again, I came in not late, but and like the whole, I think, the Rocket League has been out for, I do believe, 6 or 7 years. Now let me quickly check that, so I'm not telling a lie. So yeah, the initial release date is roughly 6 years ago, July 7th, 2015. And there have been quite a lot of people who have been working on the scene from that very moment. Because Rocket League is also, it's not its very own just happened game. There also has been a prequel to that game on PlayStation 3 called Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars. You see what they call it Rocket League nowadays.
Wow, that name.
Yeah, it's a great name.
How do you even remember that?
I mean, it's a little.
You need
it's
to
a little
practice.
Thing. There's even you definitely need to practice. It is a tongue twister. But as I said, I do believe there's even a song in that game. Actually, not just in SARP BC as it's shortly known, but I think even in Rocket League right now, if you press the right buttons on the main screen of your Rocket League game, then I think the original song from the original game starts playing, and one of the lyrics for that song is "Supersonic Acrobatic Rocket Powered Battle Cars," or something like that.
That's a nice Easter egg.
Yeah. Yeah, so quite a lot of people and players also came from that game first and then transitioned to Rocket League. Quite a lot started on consoles and then transitioned to PC. That's where majority of the players are right now. My point was basically a lot of people have been at this forever. And so you'll have to work for a long time as well to get to somewhere where you will be happy with.
Mm-hmm. That is something that sounds indeed true, but to add maybe to what you were saying about how you can become like a better caster or like become A or S tier, I think very important thing what you also mentioned is to stay visible, to be out there. Because if you're going to practice at home and from time to time apply somewhere, doesn't mean that people will know you, which is why maybe starting streaming, or participating in the talk shows, like this one is actually a great idea. Well, in my opinion, at least.
Of course.
But talking about Rocket League, why Rocket League? Like, you said that you started with League. Why didn't you transition to any other MOBA, for example? Because, like, at least that would be a similar genre. What is that in Rocket League that catched your eye or your brain?
Simplicity. I would even wouldn't be even surprised that the quality of the. Like, I liked the cast, like the broadcast that I watched. I like how it sounded. And I also perhaps like that I immediately understood how the game is played. It's really, Rocket League is an incredibly simple game to explain to a person. It is like football or soccer, but instead of real players in your FIFAs and whatnots, it's just like remote controlled cars with a little bit of extra physics added to it. Bam! Everyone can understand that. Everyone knows how football or soccer works. So understanding how this game works takes no explanation. Whoever you sit someone in front of the screen, they quite quickly are going to catch on and understand that game. So I think simplicity definitely helped me. As to why I did not go into a different MOBA, as it stands, besides League of Legends, I played a little bit of Heroes of the Storm. Tried getting into Dota. I couldn't get into Dota. Something about a more slower playstyle compared to League of Legends just didn't float on me at all. And I think partly it's also the complexity. So if you want to be a League of Legends caster or Dota caster, you need to be incredibly informed in the game. As I said, when I started doing Rocket League, by that point, I owned the game for about 3 months. I could not play myself. I still cannot play, but back then I could not play myself even more. So in Rocket League, you are immediately understanding what's what, and it's quite easy to talk about it. In League of Legends, for example, you need to know all of the heroes, as much of their abilities as you could possibly get. Also, on top of that, the variety of strategies, which is in a way comparable, let's say, to Rocket League, but still, there is a much bigger analytical and technical base for something like a MOBA that you need a lot of time to learn as compared to Rocket League.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this just brings it back to the whole simplicity argument. Yes, you can go as deep as you wish. You can start talking about the techniques that the players are using. There's a lot to be talked about how the players' formations on the field or rotations, just the ways they're approaching attack and defense. Of course, you can go really deep, but still, to really be efficient at casting something like League of Legends, you need to be just already incredibly knowledgeable on the game. Again, I've spent a lot of time playing it, and as such, I was familiar with the heroes, with abilities. I could have some sort of a more analytical, and I could sound semi-smart talking about it. But since then, I did not pick any game like that, and so I did not want to go into something that I did not know anything about. That would be a horrible experience, and nothing really, again, jumped at me that I wanted to learn necessarily. And as such, I never went to do Team Fortress 2 again. I was not interested in the competitive scene. And it was quite small, and I think it continues to be small. Team Fortress 2 as a whole is Valve's stepchild or like middle child, whichever child it is that gets almost no attention from the parents. That's Team Fortress 2. Then again, Artifact later happened, and oh boy. But yeah, it's I just ended with this because nothing else really caught my eye. Nothing else I learned about, or rather knew about as much. And with Rocket League, it just sort of clicked immediately.
You touched the part of how simple and understandable Rocket League is, and I think that's a very unique thing that makes Rocket League a very esports type of game, because if you turn on League of Legends stream and you know nothing about League of Legends or any other MOBA, you'll be lost. You will not understand what is going on there, and you will need some prior knowledge to understand what's going on and who to root for or how to feel in certain situations. Well, of course, good casters will understand that this is the moment when to feel hyped up or not. But overall, you turn on Rocket League, it's 3 cars in one ball. 6 cars in one ball. Not many questions could be asked there. It's very simple and very easable. Yeah. Is that a word? No. Very easy to see and understand for anyone. Like I could show my mom Rocket League stream, and in 2 minutes she was like, okay, I see what's going on. Yep. I could show her CSGO stream. She would probably understand after a couple of rounds what is going on. But with League, no, forget about it. She's not even going to try.
It is a great sport in that regard. And as a whole, like esports for the most part, violent games for the most part. And so Rocket League is one of those rare titles where there is no violence, like discounting the demos, which are part of the game, but not the main part of the game. You can remove a player from the field by bumping into them, but that's not the main thing. Mm-hmm. This is one of the reasons why Rocket League was picked by the International Olympics Committee to be represented as one of their esports titles last year. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic and the Tokyo Olympics being postponed, they canceled that event. They have now gone and made a new event, but it's like real sports in esports form. So there are going to be some like in Olympics, a couple of disciplines of bike esports. So there's, I believe it's called Zwift, the most popular one. So basically bike racing, but like with sort of a virtual scene that you're in, and you're sitting on a real bike. You are it's just connected to a device that sort of transforms your actual biking into a movement on screen. I do believe there were some. I think one of the events was even like rowing, as in like in boats. I might be completely wrong about handball or volleyball. Again, one of the games. Surprisingly enough, no FIFA's or NBA's or anything of the like. But still, they're now having their own event like that, but sort of like real sports, but in esports form. But yeah, I would love to see more of the Rocket League. And the other event that was planned for last year was Street Fighter. It is somewhat sort of violent, but then again, yes, sort of. Not exactly like Counter-Strike, where you are specifically shooting a person in the face. It's not like League of Legends, where you're killing the opposition. It's not like they are just they go whoop 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 and they fall down on the ground. No, it says pentakill, for example. So you're killing them. But with Rocket League and Street Fighter, which is basically a fighting game, it's karate, taekwondo, whatever you might call it, box even. It has its parallels. It is sort of violent, but at the same time, it's not necessarily video game violence. So I think
it's also nothing new.
Titles, yeah, exactly. It's acceptable violence in a way. But still, it's
if there even is
also,
such a thing.
I suppose there is, and well, most importantly, just like Rocket League, Street Fighter is incredibly easy to understand.
Exactly.
Two characters are kicking each other, and their life bars are depleting, and one of them wins eventually, and you usually can see why one of them lost or understand what is happening on the field. Mortal Kombat, I do believe it's not as popular as Street Fighter, but I might be wrong. I do have a couple of friends working in the I have a couple of friends who are working in the fighting game community from a big Mortal Kombat is one of the games, one of the titles they play. There's one again being Street Fighter, Dragon Ball Z, one of their fighting games, Mortal Kombat, of course. I do believe
Tekken.
I would imagine, yeah, as well. Of course, there's almost a separate scene for the Super Smash Brothers,
Of course.
as well, and a variety of its iterations. But quite often the big tournaments are happening with all of these games that I mentioned, plus the Super Smash Brothers as like. Those are the games represented by there.
I mean, Mortal Kombat definitely would not be involved because of the fact how
it's very bloody.
It's very bloody. It's very graphic, and no, just no.
It's the point of that game. So yeah, and again, if I would be the Olympics committee, I would indeed pick something like Street Fighter because it's much closer to the actual just normal real life fighting than Mortal Kombat is, or Dragon Ball Z, which is basically anime characters punching each other with lightning strikes.
Indeed. But going a bit back to Rocket League, as you are in the field quite a lot, how do you see Rocket League is gonna survive and live on in the nearest couple of years? Do you think it's esports is gonna strive or go down, or maybe just stay the same? How do you feel about this whole industry?
No, I think it's growing. I think it's definitely growing. We are getting big organizations interested in picking up teams. A couple of big organizations have left the sport as well, but that's a whole different story. The prize pools are getting bigger. I think the audience is getting bigger. Definitely the viewership numbers for the big tournaments are just growing. Even taking back everything that we've discussed so far, the fact that this is an easily understandable sport, it's not violent, so like the parents won't be angry that their kids are playing something violent, and obviously it's all big nonsense that video games spawn violence and everything.
Exactly.
But still, if somebody, even the most conservative mom who still accepts of video games, will I'm pretty sure say nothing of something like Rocket League, and so kids are gonna play it. They're going to watch it and just continue on growing. It has been, I think a year has passed definitely since Rocket League went free to play. And so as such, right now, it's the new talent is slowly growing. Obviously, it's going to take them some time to get on the level of where they can participate in the biggest of the tournaments. But even nowadays, I'm pretty sure the like your weekly tournaments, just some local leagues, are experiencing growth in the amount of players who want to start just proving their worth on the field. So I do not see really, unless barring some horrible decisions, management decisions from the Psyonix or Epic Games, I do not see this Rocket League stopping really. I don't know where what its peak is going to be, but I don't. But think it's not there yet. That peak. No, by no means. Like we still haven't. Like a majority of the sport, of the big esports right now have like almost the whole world covered with some satellite tournaments, local leagues. Eventually, they'll come together in a huge big tournament. Rocket League is still adding regions as it stands right now. The RLCS, when the time comes from the big world championship, only 4 regions are participating: Europe, North America, South America, and Oceania. So Australia, New Zealand, that area. There are now regular calls for the Middle East region to get into the fray as well. Middle East teams have been playing with the European teams for a while now, but they officially cannot play in the European tournament. The big European tournament, that is. Obviously, they're constantly playing in like the weeklies, the monthlies, wherever they're allowed to play. Middle East players they have slightly worse ping due to distance and everything. But as it stands, they have been proving their worth and like really just butting their heads with some of the best teams. There's also the Asian region, and again, I say Asia, that could be anywhere from India to Japan, and there are some really strong players in all of these regions. Singapore, Indonesia. That's just a couple of weeks ago, a big tournament for these regions has ended. I have been privileged to be the host for a couple of these tournaments, and eventually, we're to really represent everyone. We're gonna have to get all of these leagues somehow into the mix as well to really, first of all, say that this is a world championship, and second of all, to just showcase that, also, one thing is showcase, the other thing to get those regions interested, because like there's again 1 million people in India, 1 billion people in India could potentially be interested in this game, a ton of people in China as well who can be playing this game. I don't know if there's a China scene. There is for many other games, League of Legends, Dotas, PUBGs, but I have not really heard much about the Chinese scene. And so a huge untapped market is there. Bam, all of a sudden your broadcasts are being watched at the potential market of 2 billion people if you combine India and China all together. I've been incredibly surprised that Russia doesn't really have a scene. And that's another untapped market. There's a ton of esports titles where they have their own local Commonwealth scene. So Russia's, Ukraine's, they all come together. They speak the same language, Russian, so they can have something local. And then, of course, they can come out to the big scene as well. The possibilities, really, there's a whole of a lot untapped potential, both for player base, for viewership base. Knowing that, pretty sure Epic Games are earning more and more with Fortnite, with Rocket League, for all the other titles that they have as well. The prize pools are going to grow as well. They're going to be. Wouldn't be surprised if at some point we get our own local European studio. Respective regions get their own studio. So there's so much stuff that still can happen, and we're not done just yet. I'm not done just yet, that's for sure, because I haven't been to the top. Even when I'm at the top, I'm not done. I'm just going to continue on working and be there for as much as I can, because I love this job. So, yeah, short answer, Rocket League is just going to continue on growing, and I do not see the end for that growth just yet.
But you're not doing this full-time, right?
No, it is not my full-time job. It is, for quite a while, it has not even been my job for, I would say, a year and a half, 2 years. This has just been a hobby. I just hone my craft. I, again, just shown myself in front of everyone, got connections, and it's through those connections that I slowly started getting in some paid events and invited to more and more things, and well, bam, here I am working. But yeah, it is my second job in a way, but knowing that this is freelance for the most part. Contracts, actual proper contracts, have been few and far between. For the most part, I'm just waiting for an event to happen, and if I get there, great, I get paid. If I do not get invited, if there's no event right now, there's going to be a big empty spot of nothing for quite a while. It's the end of the season for the big leagues, so nothing's on really. So it's a bit volatile. But so yeah, for now, I definitely have to augment my casting with an actual proper day job, and sometimes it's tiresome to do both. Again, as I mentioned, during some times it's incredibly hard to do a day job, to cast, and then also on some days to stream. And streaming is an even bigger like hobby, or other smaller hobby, I suppose. Most importantly, it's the main job, it's the casting job, and then maybe streaming. And if I had to choose between one of these, obviously I cannot not choose the main job, and casting is what I want to do, so I force it as much as possible. And recently I sort of burned out on it. Really needed almost a week to recover.
So you would want to essentially do it full time?
I would love to, but there's no guarantee that I will ever be able to. Again, freelance. So unless right now I might have a great opportunity to work big time or rather long time with someone, but even that alone would not allow me to live on it, because it just right now I'm like it's sometimes it has been really great wages, like comparable to what I earn on my day job, so that's great, but has not been consistent. So again, quite regularly, just it's great addition to what I have, but it has not been again, just yeah, No other way to say it. It has not been stable. I cannot make it my big job. You said even the people who have worked on the big event. I've chatted with the wonderful Axel Todd, who has been the host for RLCS for a couple of seasons. I've chatted with him, and the questioner was like, "Is this your full-time job?" And he says, "No, I cannot just earn this just with RLCS." He has some other gigs, I think, in esports, but I think even then, he was not able to pay his living. He was in the US, so the cost of living, of course, was higher there. But still, he was not able to pay for it full time. Most of the people I know who do this full time quite often either have a quite popular Twitch channel as well, or perhaps they do YouTube and so they take in Patreon money, or they indeed have a full-time job. A friend of mine, Damascus, who does fighting games, at some point he has been getting more and more invites to bigger tournaments. At some point he quit his day job and actually got on full-time, and then COVID hit, and then he had to return to his full-time job. And so
at least he was able to.
He was, yeah. And again, he's incredibly passionate about his casting, and he's a wonderful guy. He did some Rocket League as well. That's how we met him. But his main shtick nowadays is the fighting games. He does an amazing job at.
I mean, being passionate about the game that you're casting or about the casting process itself, I think it's an incredibly important part of this job. If you're not passionate, people are going to see that, and you might ruin the experience for them.
That is true.
Yeah. Continuing the mentioned part, the COVID situation, do you think for you personally, the fact that everything has moved online, has that benefited your career or your hobby, or exactly the opposite?
It's hard to say. The fact is, well, technically the season, the RLCS season X that has just ended and has given me the biggest possibilities I had so far in my career. It has happened during COVID. So it started again in August 2020. So we've been in under the lockdowns in the pandemic mode for ever since February, March. So theoretically, the plan, the season I cannot say that that season has necessarily been made with COVID in mind, because they still wanted to host those offline events, but one after the other they had to cancel them. The fall ended. Sorry, the situation has gotten worse again. We need to cancel it. Winter came. Yeah, still bad. Spring, well, yeah, might as well not hope. We were hoping for the Worlds tournament somewhere in the summer, June, July maybe, and everyone's really hopeful to get there. Obviously, everyone was still fighting for that. There's still been spots available for the World Championship, and then that got canceled as well. And so there have been a lot of disappointment on the scene as well. So it's hard for me to say whether it has helped me or not, but definitely the fact that I've been working offline for a lot has helped. Comparing the studio work of all the people who have been working on RLCS, because for all the seasons, starting from season 1, I'm pretty sure, and all the way to season 9, I think, where they started casting from home. At some point, they went from working in the studio to working from home, and you could see that people who have been really used to working in the studio environment were not used to working with a camera, or the broadcasts were still a little bit choppy, and even the broadcast team was still learning it. So me coming into this season, I had a lot of experience just like this, working from home. I'm sitting in my pajama pants over here, and I'm listening to my caster, not sitting right next to me, but on camera. And it's still a skill that you work on. I feel like at times it's still a little bit awkward. Still for us, still like for me when I work for the big casters as well on their broadcasts. But I think they've grown accustomed to it for the past year and everything. So I would say, again, I have no guarantees that it has really helped my situation. Definitely has not made it worse. The fact is, I was casting from home. I continue casting from home. I have 4 years worth of experience now doing just that with 2 offline events, which is just great. I can get some photos out of those events. But most of my work is indeed just straight up working from home. Mm-hmm. And it's just the work I think I put before that has really helped me during these COVID times. And then what happened. The fact is, the organization I was before got offered to do those C-stream matches, those like third stream for the main broadcasts. I got called because I was part of that organization. Then at some point, we've been asked. Teams have been gathering around, and they've been looking for casters for RLC as the grid. So sort of weekly tournaments, not the big ones, but the weekly tournaments, still with prizes, still with some points at stake. And then I got suggested. I was really late for the whole business. All the big teams have been taken, and I've been invited to suggested that maybe I'll go and talk to a coach of that team if they're still looking for casters. Maybe we can get you on. That was Danny Boy, by the way. Shout out to Danny Boy, who currently works for Team Liquid and their team. And I eventually ended up with the Tablox, and I spent the fall, winter, and spring split with them. So that's again from August to this point. And now that they've been picked up by an organization, well, not an organization, basically financial backer. So we now have the financial support from them, but still organization is Tablox. We're now our own organization. And this has now helped me to, again, cast all their games when they were available, to, again, cast some C-stream days when they were available. So, it's really hard for me to say whether COVID has helped, but I would say I was ready for COVID, and I hope I have proven myself ready for this thing.
I think you've been doing great. Like from what I've seen, also stream-wise, I love the fact that you add from time to time something new and interesting. Like last week, you did your musical stream. I'm not sure if that was a new thing or not.
It was. I think the first time I ever did that live on camera. Obviously, you've been here for Twitch Sync, so it was not the first time I sang on stream or anything. And I've been meaning to do some more musical stuff. Maybe get some just get guitar playing going. There's a fantastic game called Rocksmith where you just I play an actual guitar. It's not like a rock band where you play a plastic one, although I love that one as well. But just something to do with the music. I just ran out of ideas what to stream on that day, and so and I wanted to do some work on the track that I wanted to record for a long time now. So yeah, I decided to stream as I was recording music, playing guitar, singing. It was quite a great experience.
And I was lucky to catch exactly that stream, and it was so fun. I was working and I had it on the second screen, and I was just vibing with all your jams. It was great. Yeah. As we are coming a bit to an end, we have talked a lot. And as a resume, could you name like 5 qualities you think every caster or a person that wants to be a caster needs to have or needs to develop?
Well, the very first thing, one of the most important things to me, I feel like, and something connected to the quality of a person, it's connected to the quality of a microphone that the person is using. I can even if a person is great but their sound quality is bad, that turns me off. That makes me want to turn off the broadcast. This makes me not as interested. I won't be able to catch everything that the person is saying, or something might be lost as a result of that. So if you want to start casting, you don't have to immediately buy one of those Shure microphones that everyone's using nowadays for like $300-400. Like my setup right now is well, the whole setup really is less than that, and you can just buy one of those Blue Yeti microphones, which are perfectly fine for the start for what you gotta do. It's just that you're like a $30 cheapo headset is really not gonna cut it. So you'll have to make some investment in it. Unfortunately, at the very start, you're not gonna earn any money. So it's gonna be like any hobby, really. It's gonna start as a hobby, and just like with photography, you're gonna have to buy a camera. With music, you'll have to buy a music instrument. They're going to have a little bit of investment at the very start. After that, and again, as a sort of continuation to that point, I'm quite more enjoying listening to a person who is sounding good, and not just microphone-wise, but also just how they're controlling their voice, how they're saying things. I'm going to be much more interested in that, even if they cannot get some depth into their analysis, for example, if what they're saying is perhaps not as deep or not as informative, that I would be to a person who maybe can tell a little bit more about the game, but he has a monotone voice. He does not know how to get excited properly. Like either everything is too aggressive, too wow, everything is wow, or nothing is wow, for example.
You have to find the middle ground.
Yeah, you know, not just the middle ground. You need to have dynamics. You need to have a dynamic range,
that's the
and
right
also
word.
know when to do things. And so I think the second good quality would be voice mastery. So obviously it's too like very general, but voice mastery. But yeah, indeed, knowing when to be excited for a play, because not every single play on the field is exciting. Not every single shot is even exciting. Know how to throw a question to your co-caster, or let your co-caster know that you have finished your thought and now they can speak, because again, you are on the internet, you don't have a person right next to you. When they're right next to you, you can maybe make a hand signal, like, but online you need to signify that with your voice, so you need to make sure that how you're speaking is your co-caster can catch it and understand it. Same goes just for about everything, even for starting a show. It's you can say hello and welcome to the Rocket League Championship, or you can say hello and welcome to Rocket League Championships. And already there's a huge difference. Obviously, this is a little bit like forced and
yeah.
Oh, I'm the North American game host. Welcome to Wheels. Obviously, even
On
there
point.
you can go too much with that one, but still, I think that voice mastery is going to be incredibly important as well. Just there's again a lot of facets to it, but you need to be a master of your voice. After that, I would say really good vocabulary, and I do mean that in terms both of just basically have a thesaurus in your head of a variety of synonyms, because you can say, oh, there's a shot on target. There's another shot on target. He has made a shot. Goal. He has scored. Great shot. You basically want to have as many alternatives to what you're saying as possible, because it's
Can
a
you
game
provide
of
an example? Like you just showed a bad example. Can you show a good example?
Yeah, for example, he has let's say it could be a pass. It could be an assist. It could be he redirects that ball. He chips that ball, although that's more like touches on the ball mostly. He makes a shot. It's an attempt at target. He makes a drive on the net or at the net. I actually don't remember exactly. Those kind of things. Pushes the ball away for a save, or keeps the net safe, something like that. So just a lot, and you're going to be saying about things like possession, control, just the play style, the word speed, pace, acceleration is not really a good example. All of this is, you're going to say these things quite a lot during a broadcast, and so you would want to have as many of the alternatives to what you're saying as possible. In addition to that, jargon, just this is general, and quite a lot of the stuff you can actually steal from, again, soccer, football. You can just take their terms and use it here. The penalty box, the final third, those kinds of things. Just crosses, moving the ball laterally. Again, a goalie. Just like your soccer term, but can be used in Rocket League pretty well. But also, of course, the specific to Rocket League jargon, such as the variety of moves that players are making: wave dashes, musty flicks, doomsy dishes, your 50-50s, your flip resets, whatever. Not some dribbles, aerial dribbles, just recovery, boost management. What else is there? Dwinks, stuff like that. So it builds up with time. Obviously, you cannot immediately go into a game and be a Shakespeare of Rocket League, but just the general things help, and the specifics, you're going to slowly build them up. And you see a thing, you say, all right, oh, that was a great musty flick, and bam, the people who know that that's a musty flick already say, yeah, oh yeah, that's right, that's it. And so you interest those folks pretty well. Or if they do not know about it, so that's what a musty flick is. Now I know.
Yeah,
and
makes sense.
It just adds like, you are helping people notice things. That's one of the parts for the casting. And again, just quickly jumping back to the whole expansive vocabulary, it helps when you don't have to be, again, you don't have to be a Shakespeare, but I feel like it really helps when you can really put a really good phrase in there somewhere. No, I'll try to make up something off the top of my head. Just even just if you can work in a pun or some description, or some good description of the action that you just seen that is not immediately just a like scene for scene of what the people have just seen. So it's not just it's like and he makes a great pass in front of the net and scores. It's more like the team has been making forays into the attack for a while. I mean, really, as it stands, it was just only a matter of time until we would have seen a goal. We've seen the team's B defense in shambles. As such, this result is only a matter of time.
So it's like make a little story.
Make a little story, exactly. And so for that, you need a little bit of vocabulary. You might bring in some interesting word like I sometimes go for discombobulated, which is a fantastic word, and also a team discombobulated. So sort of not in disrepair, but basically disassembled, like the team that has been just taken apart almost.
Okay,
it's
so
a great word.
To recap, we have sound, we have voice control, we have vocabulary. That's it for now. We need 2 more.
Yeah.
Do you have?
I would say listening skills as well. Again, just like you need to be efficient in your communication to your co-cast to make them know when you are done speaking, and make them know when even indirectly that you're asking them a question. The same thing I feel goes for listening as well. For the cast to be really efficient, 2 people need to work at it. And so if you try as hard and maybe your co-caster picks it up, but then they say something and you just or repeat what they've just said, or like mumble a little bit. Even I sometimes have these issues where I haven't really properly listened, so I sort of make something on the spot and sort of deflect the theme. But still, if you need to be listening when your co-caster is ready to give you your time now. This helps avoid those awkward pauses when you were not sure that your co-caster are they done, are they not done. So you also need to be aware that at all times you also need to be watching the game and thinking of the next thing to say. Again, this all, by the way, is from my sort of perspective. And I'm going to touch in just a moment. But there are like several approaches to this. Yeah, most importantly, if you listen to your co-caster, the stream the cast sounds more organic. The moment they end, you immediately pick up, for example. Or instead of saying like they saying, and that was a great attempt at target, instead of you saying, yeah, that was a great attempt at a target, you continue their thought immediately. Yeah, and obviously with a shooter like these, yada yada yada. So yeah, you really need to be listening to what the person is saying, because you can continue on their points, you can add to their points, or you can just again make the whole broadcast flow. But yeah, to touch on that point, for most part, I am performing the role of a color caster. You may also call it sometimes you call it an analyst. But as it stands, I'm usually the person who does not describe the action as it happens, but gives it a more analytical sort of view. So my other co-caster will be just calling the game as it is. So pass, touch, attempt at a shot, righty ball back in the midfield, player takes it, player drives it up the wall, great attempt on target. And my turn then comes either after a goal or after the play has happened for a while without anything. My turn then comes in to again bring in some stats into the action. I'm noticing that for the last minute or so, the whole action has been on one side of the field. That's one of the teams already has 5 shots to the 0 goals of the other team. And so for me, it is quite important to be listening to my co-caster and making sure that I continue some of their points, or at the very least, again, I immediately pick up when it's my turn to speak, because at that point, I'm constantly thinking of some sort of a theme to talk about. And the problem also is, if something happened 30 seconds ago, most likely it's not going to be important. And so I'm just going to drop that and think of something new to say. It's a constant just thinking and making up game in our
Mm-hmm.
head, or just spotting what is most important so I can latch onto that and talk about it. So this is the role of a color caster analyst. It's very like broad, and there are others definitions to those roles as well. Color casters sometimes get described for the folks who just actually describe things in much more color, as such as give a lot of life to the play. Again, uses those great adjectives like long words, like tremendous demolition of the defense of yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
Again, very roughly. But the other role, which my co-casters usually are taking, are that of a play-by-play. So play-by-play just takes and calls the play as is. For them, they are usually waiting for me to stop talking so they can continue on talking about the game as it happens. But still, quite often we still need to have a dialogue. But I feel like for them, it's a little bit. It's not easy by any imagination, or easier by any stretch of imagination. But and for both roles, the listening skills are incredibly important. So I think still it's going to be you need to know that this is a two people job, and you need to be listening to your partner as it stands.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So the fourth thing would be listening, and for the last quality.
I would say something I've already mentioned is the fact that you constantly need to be improving, to not just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you by no means are going to be perfect immediately. Even if you're natural at something, you're still going to have some rough edges to iron out, to file off, and as such you constantly need to be improving. Again, that comes with listening back to your own broadcasts, listening or asking for feedback from your co-casters. As it stands, even if you've watched your own recording, it doesn't mean that you will notice something and your co-casters might see it better, might feel it better.
Mm-hmm.
Again, for me, it is also watching and listening to the big broadcast and seeing how they work, taking something from them, take what you like, avoid something that perhaps you don't like. There are a couple of things, even on big, like RLCS kind of level broadcasts, that I don't like. I do not want to use these things, and I try to avoid them in some literally small things, but some phrases, for example, that they're using. Sometimes there is some sort of like a weasel phrase that you just keep on, brain somehow keeps on pulling out, and I try to avoid that. Yeah, it's just continuous and just interest in the game as well. It's you need to be passionate about both casting and the game, otherwise you're just gonna fall off.
Yeah, I think passion, as we mentioned earlier in the stream, is very important for this profession, and actually any profession. Actually, I mean, if you're not passionate about what you do, you at some point are gonna get either tired, either bored of it, and what then? What's the point?
Yep.
Thank you for these 5/6 very good qualities and good suggestions for people to look at if they are interested indeed in the casting jobs or casting opportunities. And we have been talking quite a while, so we have come to our last little question to like wrap it all up. Name 5 games you would suggest everyone to try out. You've played a lot of them. I know you have some really good games in store.
As it stands, Kat, this has been the hardest question out of all of them.
I'm sorry.
5 obviously, the game number 1 would be Rocket League. No question about that.
Really?
Rocket League. It's free. It's free on Epic Game Store.
Let me write it down. Rocket League.
Rocket League. Exactly. I was actually thinking about the next one quite a lot. I would say maybe Valorant, and I say maybe Valorant because it is, I think right now, the latest esports title that has gotten big. And most importantly, I think it was an esports title that has been made with an idea of esports in mind. Like League of Legends, well, I suppose League of Legends, by the same developers, obviously, have also maybe started with hopes of esports. But I would say with the old experience that Riot had, they put it into, and also some lessons that CSGO has learned, or just Counter-Strike on its whole duration of existence. They've, I think, went and made a title specifically for esports, and so it's more from that almost academic perspective of what makes a good esports title, and how it works. Also interesting to watch it as people are learning to not just play it, but to cast it. A lot of people came from CS:GO into Valorant, and also how to observe it, how to spectate the game the best. So if you just want to learn a little bit about that, if you want to do not want to be a caster, but you want to be a producer, observer, spectator for those games, that's another profession that you can take. And then take a look at the Valorant and the esports that's surrounding it. And at the same time, under that, I would also perhaps recommend, again, it's more academic interest than anything else, to take a look at the games that were destined to be esports styles, that were like immediately screaming, "We are a new and freshest esports style, everyone better beware," that have failed. That have, despite all the hopes and dreams, despite them being, "Oh, we're so esports ready, give us $1 million already." They failed. So I do believe Lawbreakers and
oh, I remember that one.
Oh God, I forgot the other one. Not Snapjammers, no. I'm thinking of Windjammers, which is a cool game, not necessarily esports, but it's small title, but it's cool in its own way. God, which game I'm thinking of?
Do you remember the
Another
genre?
like. It's FPS, either third, a split something.
There was another
That's
battle
what it
royale
was.
game that I remember came out and also flunked pretty badly.
Which one was that?
ROE or something. Ring of.
Elysium.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
Where is it? I remember everyone was talking about it at like one moment, and then nothing.
I don't know. I think it was not available readily for everyone to play. I think all the closed betas were happening elsewhere, not in Europe, not in North America, as usually is. A lot of these free to play titles start their first closed alpha and beta tests somewhere in Asia. I think same happened for Riot's Wild Rift on the League of Legends and mobile. Yeah. Split changers. God, I generally do not remember the split. Splitgate Arena Warfare. That's what it's called. And surprisingly, it had really good reviews and everything. Like 9 out of 10 on Steam. Yeah, overwhelmingly positive. But from what I know, it is pretty much dead zone. So if I go to Steam info. Is it not the one I'm looking for? Steam stats. No, actually, not what I'm thinking of either. Steam charts. Steam charts, yeah. And go for Splitgate. Obviously, if the topic is multiplayer games that have failed, oh boy, that's a whole other.
That's a whole another chat.
Whole other podcast.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And I've already been. I've been talking for a long time. So yeah, right now Splitgate's current player count is 200 people. So Splitgate is pretty much almost dead.
Hey,
let
but
me
200 people are still playing it.
I mean, it's nice, yeah.
It's like no one.
As it stands, the game that is already has been abandoned by their developers. Well, not abandoned necessarily, but like all the new updates are done. Everything has been made free, I think. No more esports scene. And I know of this game because at some point, organization I work with, Rival Esports, have hosted a series of broadcasts for it. Maybe even the big leagues. Battle Rights. So it was like a MOBA crossed with like your action RPG. So Diablo, for example. And it was pretty fun, but it has also like just did not pick up properly. Surprisingly enough, there is a 2,000 people playing right now. So as it stands, actually they have been hitting some peaks as of recently. Okay, what is happening? What is happening, Battle Right?
It's
that is
coming
interesting.
back.
I've just recently reinstalled. No, I played it a little bit and uninstalled because like it seems like nothing was really happening. But yeah, there is a lot of really failed titles who were really hopeful in immediately showing that, hey, come on, you guys, you play League of Legends, you play CS:GO, you play whatever is currently popular. You like the pew pew pews, you're gonna love our pew 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 version, and it's even got esports in it. And for whatever reason, they unfortunately fail. And I'm not at right to talk about reasons. Chances are I wouldn't be correct about them or not know the whole story behind them. But still, it's sometimes interesting to check exactly where they failed, so to see, or perhaps to look into a next big thing, to catch that next big thing, because sometimes it's impossible to tell which game is going to be the next big one, which game is going to all of a sudden have the Fortnite levels of popularity, for example, or Fall Guys, or which game is just going to fall to the wayside, like Among Us. Yeah, exactly. Among Us was a sleeper hit. It has been out for 2 years, and then all of a sudden in 2020 it has gotten so big that people from the
Everyone
US
knows.
State Senate played that. Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez played it.
Oh yeah, I know.
I think played it. Yeah, the big streamers. So I believe recently there was a lobby with Jimmy Fallon or some other late night show
Jimmy
host.
Fallon, Corpse, and whole that company played.
Yeah, exactly. So it is big, and for quite a while it has not been. Their company is still 6 people,
Which is pretty insane.
It has been a silent success. Obviously, it's a whole other story. What makes a game popular? How to find a diamond in the rough? Is there even any
Get another
rules, or
chat.
is it just a luck of a draw? Yeah, it is another. But yeah, to sort of round it up, I feel like it's going to mostly for Valorant is indeed to just look how I do believe that is the latest, biggest esport that has just popped on the scene. Obviously not popped. It was groomed to be the big title. So it was made to be a big title, and obviously they have the experience. So it worked. It might have failed as well. Again, stuff happened. Like Valve failed with their Artifact card game because they made some horrible decisions. Dota Underlords is still going strong, but I feel like it's slowly also dying.
Whether TFT, I think not. I think TFT is still going up.
I think TFT is currently doing much better than Dota Underlords. Currently, I can quickly check on Dota Underlords. I'm not sure if it takes into account mobile players as well, because you can play on the mobile as well. But peak players is about 6,000 people nowadays, which is again
for
good.
Underlords.
For Underlords, yeah. For TFT, I do not know, but I'm pretty sure it's much more.
Dota is commenting about that. Too bad Sea of Thieves Arena doesn't have established tournament seed at esports. It would be fun to watch, which I most certainly agree with. Would be indeed fun to watch.
It's a game that has passed by me. I'm not sure if it could have an esports scene, but I know so little of its core. Like gameplay. Well, I mean, I know of its core gameplay mechanics roughly. You sail, you look for treasures, you fight some monsters, you have the ability to do PvP, and I suppose the PvP could be the basis for an esports team. But
I think that is the idea, but I also don't know much about it. But back to the title. So you would, because we have this lovely ability of like flowing away to another topics or another games.
Me mostly.
Well, which is okay.
I can't shut up.
And that's why you're a caster. But back to the titles.
I suppose so.
Rocket League, Valorant. Right?
Okay, yeah. For the esports styles, I think. Well, I mean, I'm gonna mention another one later on. Just out of the games in general, if you haven't played Return of the Obra Dinn just yet, go for it. It's worth its full price for however many monies it's currently going on Steam and any other shops.
Mm-hmm.
It is a murder mystery, but it is done in a brilliant graphical style. I've never seen anything like that. It's like emulating some old computer graphics. It is also very different. It's also different in terms of story. Obviously, there might have been like a story like that at some point, but still, the story is quite surprising. I don't want to put any spoilers, obviously, so you have to experience for yourself. And also, the gameplay itself is very innovative, and it plays incredibly well. So, if you haven't played Return of the Obra Dinn, it's a fantastic game.
Okay, duly noted. Any other games you would suggest, or?
And that's about all I sort of figured out of the list. Obviously, I can jump back on my games for my backlog completion and recommend something like Fez, for example, which is a beautiful little arcade platformer, which has great music, great art, and also it also has an interesting story behind it. Actually, rather the plot of the game is in ways simple, but also it gets cooler and cooler the more you play it. So if I would think, if just we're talking about my favorite games, basically it's what's evolving into.
Yeah.
I think Fez would be on that list. Same goes for Cuphead. I've been following that game for a while, and I just absolutely love the art style of Cuphead. It's hard as nails sometimes, but just looking at this, like, what is it, like 1930s, 1940s kind of drawing style of merry melodies, Looney Tunes, and whatnot. It's just wow! It hits such a nostalgia spot somewhere, and it's also a good game. So, also something that obviously you need to be into that genre. And again, it's hard. You're fighting. You need some reflexes. You need reaction time and just good hand-eye coordination. But if you have all of that, I would say it would be pretty. I would recommend playing that. I'm gonna quickly go through my list over here, just sort of looking at it, but I think out of it's sort of a cop out as it stands, but keep your eyes out on the esports titles. Keep your eye out on the mobile gaming scene as well, because continues on growing.
It is growing, and it's growing fast.
It's gonna be yeah. Now the Call of Duty is now on mobile. Battlefield series have recently announced that they are going to be on mobile as well. I see for a while now they have Apex Mobile, yeah, indeed. It's currently a very closed beta test, but yeah, I've already seen some people mention that the people start getting invited in there. So yeah, Apex now even on Switch. So well, it's really spreading. Again, the PUBG, like the variety of battleground games, like PUBG has been in mobile. MOBAs were in a mobile for a long time. As it stands, League of Legends came in late to that scene. The most popular games are the ones made in China. Some of them are really like almost copycats from the League of Legends, and I'm pretty sure there have been a lot of not jail cases but court cases regarding that. But yeah, there is a lot happening, and the tournaments are growing stronger. Even just recently, the last offline event that I worked at, there has been the World Championship or at least a major event with people from all around the world participating for Guns of Boom, which is another mobile game. So it is growing. Continues to grow. It's now. Wouldn't be surprised if the mobile game market, like people-wise, how many people are playing on mobile. And I'm not just saying like your Candy Crushes, but like competitive games. That market will be comparable to the amount of players who play on PC, for example. So
for sure, I think we're going there.
Keep your eyes open.
And we're going there fast. But industry comparison and overall bigger talks about also rise of the mobile games. Guns of Boom. I mean, Guns of Boom was a game that we both kind of heard and knew about because it was included in Hypertown and
exactly.
Not really involved in esports scene, but it was like those projects were connected, and we saw how big this game can actually be, which I think was very interesting to see, because for me personally that was like one of the first and biggest experiences of how mobile game can be, from like something you just play on your phone at home till teams driving to a live location and playing from there. Yeah. And I think that's amazing.
It was a whole great spectacle. We had some foreign casters just coming in from somewhere as well. There was a big trophy, and I so wish I could have gotten that big fake check, which the
right?
prize is written, but alas, I did not get that.
Well,
but
next
last time I seen it, yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, the whole thing with that big fake check was the fact that they either forgot to give it to the players, or no, I think it arrived too late for it to be presented to the players, and as such, it was left in did not get used during the event. And then last time I saw it, I think it was in the offices of GoX Animo, but from what I know, it has been
a good memory.
Then either sent to the team that won, or I think one of the GoX Animo folk, most likely nobody's, taken it home.
Yeah,
I might be wrong. I might be wrong. I don't want to. Either nobody's taken it home, or the owner of Go Exanimo has sort of strictly said, no, we paid for this.
Not
we
this.
cannot just give it away to somebody.
Not
yeah,
this.
this actually needs to go to somebody somebody proper. So yeah.
All right, Jam. I think this was a huge pleasure for both me and the viewers. I hope you had some fun too. We talked about a lot of little things, a lot about you, which was the goal of the chat. And I want to thank you for you spending your time here with us, telling your experience, telling your train of thought, because maybe someone among the viewers wants to become a caster, and this has been really helpful for them. It definitely has been helpful for me, because it is a thing that I've been thinking about, and I would maybe potentially love to become better at it. And thanks to you, now I know how.
Exactly. Well, it is quite simple. If you have the desire, that's the most important thing. Start with a desire. Start with really wanting it. And then just start looking out. There's for Rocket League, even right now, there are tons of organizations definitely will be looking for a caster. Doesn't even have to be like some sort of a cash tournament. A lot of local, some university-based leagues, school-based leagues are looking for people to cast. I know that one of the organizations that I worked with, all this like a long time ago in 2017, all of a sudden is getting starting up their tournaments again, and so I wouldn't be surprised if they're looking for some people to work for them as well. The chances are there. The chances are definitely there if you look for it. If you know where to look. And again, Reddit would be Reddit, and these more specifically competitive subreddits for your specific game are quite often the places where either people are looking for casters, or information about the tournaments is being posted, and as such, if there's a tournament, most likely there might be in need of a caster. So look for that, check for that. That's how I got my I got my first Rocket League position. I got my second Rocket League position. That's how I got on my first offline events. So just keep your eyes open. In the meantime, just keep on practicing, and who knows, if you really spend some time doing it, and you might be over prepared almost for the position that you'll be taken on from.
Is that possible?
I would imagine, yes. I've been listening to, from time to time, I tune into some smaller tournaments, and there's some really cool people casting out. Like, they wouldn't be out of place. I would say initially listening to them in any of the bigger broadcasts. As it stands, yeah, they just again, all the way coming back to the fact that they sound good. They have a good microphone. They know how to speak well. Bam, that's already like 70% of success almost. So it would be like they would be not out of place, that's for sure.
All right. Thank you once again.
Thank you,
and thank you, viewers, for still being here, for writing your questions. I think that very helped with some of the dynamic of the conversation. And thank you, Jam. Jam. Not Jar, Jam. Let's remember that. Yes, you can check out his Twitch, his Twitter. As much as I know, you still don't have Instagram.
No.
But if there will be, I'll make sure to post it somewhere and to share it with you guys, because I look at this amazing caster. I hope we hear from you more and more in the future. But now we're gonna send our viewers to your suggested streamer, Secret Foxfire. I hope you guys enjoy that stream as well. But you can still say your goodbyes.
Goodbyes. Yep. Thanks very much, Kat.
Bye.
Thanks very much, Kat, and thanks very much, everyone, for watching and listening. It has been... I waffled a lot, but I hope everyone has learned something.
Exactly.